Good day, everyone. For this day, we'll be discussing our topics on forecasting. So, are you familiar with the term forecasting? Maybe you have learned it before during your past lessons, or you have experienced it in your day-to-day life. Anyone? There is none. Okay, if there is none, I will take you to a very common example. If you're a person who is fan of watching news before dinner in the evening or before breakfast in the morning, part of the newscast is the weather forecasting. In the weather forecasting class, the weather forecasting will tell the audience what will be the weather for the next 24 hours. For example, will it be sunny? Will it be rainy? Is there a low pressure area in the Philippine area of responsibility? Or is there a storm coming in our way? Is weather forecast always accurate? No. There are times when the weather forecaster will tell us that it will rain and we'll bring umbrella to our office or school, but it will not rain. Of course, it is not accurate because it is only a prediction or estimation of what will possibly happen in the future. In management class, we also have forecasting. Forecasting is used by managers so that they will have a tool that will aid them in decision making and planning. According to Niels Bohr, prediction is very difficult, especially if it is about the future. Right? Who among you is already familiar or is already informed what will happen in the future? None of us is already informed what will happen in the future. It is still uncertain. We don't know what will happen in the next minutes, next seconds, next week, next year, and for the coming years. We don't know. Still uncertain. So, forecasting is basically estimation and prediction what will happen in the future. Okay? Forecasting is a technique of estimating the relevant future events and problems. So, relevant future events. When you say relevant, important future events and problems, not all happenings you shall predict, only those that are important and that will affect your business. For example, how much will be the demand for the next two weeks, or how much will the demand for the next 5 months, so that you can prepare for your supplies, for your raw materials. And we will forecast possible problems so that we will be prepared. What will be the contingency plans if this problem will occur in our business based on the past and present behavior or happenings. So forecasting class involve detailed analysis. And when you say detailed analysis, dili pataka, that is careful and accurate analysis of past and present data. So it may require various statistical techniques. So if you're done with your statistics 11 or 21, I guess, I don't know what's the number, you're familiar with those techniques that we'll be using for our forecasting. A little push in the right direction can make a big difference. So that is why you must be very careful in your forecasting, because if you will forecast wrong, it can affect. If you will forecast right, it can positively affect also. So you should be very careful, you should be very accurate. Dili siya binuang, because this will be the basis for planning and decision making. One wrong move, masayop lang tagamay, dako na siya nga loss sa ato ang business. Systematic guessing. Guessing of the future, it is systematic because you are using tools and techniques so that we will have idea on what we should plan in the future. Netter and Wasserman state that business forecasting refers to the statistical analysis of past. When you say past, mga niaging tuig, niaging semana, niaging buwan, and current movement in the given time series to obtain clues about the future pattern of this movement. So for example, you want to forecast how much will be the demand of flowers for Valentine's 2022, that's next year. So you will base your forecast for the past years. Demand for flowers for Valentine's for the past 5 years. For example, for Valentine's 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, and 2016. Then, based on actual data, the demand is, for example, 10,000 roses, 1,000 lilies, and so on and so forth. So, your preparation for Valentine's 2022 will not be far from the demand that happened during the past 5 years. So, forecasting is a tool used for predicting future demand based on past information. What are the objectives of this topic, class? 1, you will learn the fundamental rules of forecasting. 2, you will be able to forecast using moving average, weighted moving average, and exponential smoothing. And number 3, you will be able to calculate the accuracy of your forecast so that you will not be misled or misguided in your decision making. What are the characteristics of forecasting? 1, forecasting is concerned with future events. 2, it is vital in your planning process. 3, the impact of future events has to be considered in the planning. Of course, you will not 100% consider the past, but let us take a look what will be the impact of the future events. Then, guessing of the future events. So the future events that might happen could be guessed only to some extent. So for example, you cannot use forecasting data for the past 10 years to predict what will be the demand for the next 10 years. No, there is a limitation of forecasting. So for example, you will use that for the next 10 years, same data for the last 10 years. It is not quite accurate anymore for the year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, maybe. For year 1, earlier months for year 1, it is accurate, but for the next years, it's not accurate anymore if you are using the same data again and again. There should be updated data for your forecast. So, inference or conclusion are drawn from past and present relevant events under scientific forecasting. So when you say scientific, there is a step, there is a method. We have to be careful about our forecast. So you should consider all factors which affect organizational functions. So the analysis of various factors may require the use of scientific, mathematical, and statistical technique. So personal observation also helps forecasting. Then application of scientific, mathematical, statistical techniques is much more reliable than the use of ordinary tools to obtain conclusions. So what is the process of forecasting, class? 1, you should have a thorough preparation of the foundation of forecasting. 2, this is the estimation of the future. 3, collection of the results. 4, comparison of the results. Then 5, refining of the forecast. So in other words, you need to gather the data, calculate the forecast, collect what will be the result of your forecast, then compare the results of the different methods of forecasting, then refine your forecast. Okay? Why forecasting is important? 1, demand of products and services is usually uncertain. When you say uncertain, walay kasiguraduan. Thus, forecasting can be used for long-range planning, strategic planning. So, long-range planning, pwede siyang magamit lapas o sa katuig, but your data should be updated. Finance and accounting for budget and controls. Marketing, what will be the future sales, what will be the new products, as well as production and operations, because you will forecast how much will be the raw materials needed. Dili man siya pwede, class, nga isa na kamupalit o needed na ang raw materials. You should buy before the raw materials are being needed. Okay? The need and importance of forecasting can be found out with the help of the key role played for forecasting in the management process, especially in planning. Again, forecasting is vital in planning and decision making. Importance. Pivotal role in an organization. It can create loss or it can give you gain. Development of the business, for example. Implementation of the project. Primacy of the planning. When you see primacy, first step of the planning, coordination, effective control, and forecasting can be a key to success. Areas of forecasting. Competition. We should compete. How much will be the demand? How much will be the sales? And what shall we do so that we can compete with other suppliers of the product that we are offering in the market. Then supply of the labor, we need to forecast because we need to see pila man ka worker nga itong i-hire. Economic condition, especially today, we are on pandemic. And usually kasagaran ubos gid kaayo atong production karon tungod sa pandemic. Technology. So kung naratay technology, of course less na ato ang worker kay mechanized na atong production. Growth trend, for example, increasing karon ang demand sa ani nga product A, but product B decreasing ang demand. That's already the trend. So kung product B ang imong gi-offer, less na gyud ang imuhang i-produce. New laws and regulations, social change, political change, and so on and so forth. So these areas of forecasting can affect your overall forecast, and you should take note of that. Okay, what is forecasting all about? So let us take a look at this table. This is the demand for Mercedes E-Class. We try to predict the future but by looking at the past. So what are the past data? Here are the 6 dots in the past data. We have January, February, March, April, May, and June. That is the past data or the actual demand, past sales for the last 6 months for Mercedes E-Class. So, in forecasting class, we will use the demand for the last 6 months to predict the demand for July. So, we are June and come July, we will predict the demand. This will be the prediction. So usually, the actual sales will be more or less pare-parehas siya sa imong predicted amount. So you can guess, you can prepare because you have already forecasted what is the demand for Mercedes. Advantages of forecasting. You can anticipate future problems and events. Anticipate. When you say anticipate, you can say, this would possibly happen. Then, facilitates planning, ensures coordination, and easy controlling. Forecasting class, there are also limitations of forecasting. So forecasting is to be made on the basis of certain assumption and human judgment. When you have faulty assumptions in human judgment class, that would lead to wrong results. So you should have certain assumptions. So dili ka magpatakag assume o judge so that you will have the right forecast. It cannot be considered scientific as a scientific method for guessing future events as it does not specify any concrete relationship between past and future. There is no concrete relationship, but still, we can use this. Too much expectation will cause disappointment and impair initiative of the executives. For example, you forecast this and you have expected too much that your forecast will turn out to be the actual. However, your forecast did not turn out to be the actual, then there will be disappointments and it could lead to magkuan like duwa na higana sa pagtrabaho because na-expect na hanga kato ang mahitabo. High degree of skill and process must be undertaken by specialists like statistician and those people in management. Proper forecasting needs adequate and reliable information. So sometimes forecasting is difficult because data are not accurate and wala tay enough na data. There is no certainty of the occurrence of future events predicted by forecasting. Again, though we have already forecasted but dili certain. Just like what I've said earlier, weather forecaster said muuwan unya or ugma, but then it isn't rain, it's sunny at all. So it's not accurate, it's not perfect. There could be changes, there could be differences along the way. The more number of days constituting the period of forecasting, higher will be the degree of error. So I've said earlier, then gamiton nimo ang forecast for the next 12 months. So high na iyang degree of error. Kung mag-forecast ka for January to June nga data, it should be used for July. Dili imo gamiton ang January nga June nga data, you will use that for July to December. No. You will use another set of data now so that you can predict for August na pod nga forecasting. Like for example, you will use January to June data to forecast July, and you will use February to July data so that you can forecast August. You should have updated historical data so that you can have a high accuracy of your forecast. Forecasting class is costly and involve a lot of time. So, smaller organization cannot afford forecasting. Only those corporations na dako-dako na siya can afford this. So, the difference between forecasting and planning. Forecasting class is the basis for planning, and planning is the basis for a future action. Forecasting, no decision can be taken without the help of forecasting, and planning helps to arrive at a certain decision. Forecasting is done at the middle or lower level of management, while planning is done at the top level management. So forecasting can be done by the managers, and planning can be done by the president, top executives, vice president. A few members are involved in forecasting, while in planning, large number of persons are involved. Forecasting does not stimulate activities among employee, while planning stimulates. Forecasting class is a tool for planning, while planning is not a tool for forecasting. Again, needed ang forecasting sa planning, but ang planning not needed for forecasting. Forecasting is done by experts. Planning can be done by any person. What are the key issues in forecasting? So first issue is forecast is only good as information included in the forecast, past data. So kung bad na imuhang past data nga gamit, of course the result forecast will also be bad. Kung wrong na ang data nga gamit, wrong na sad ang result. History is not perfect predictor of the future. There is no such thing as perfect forecast, of course. Dili gid siya 100% accurate because there's no such thing as perfect forecast. Still, we don't know what will happen in the future. Remember, forecasting is based on assumption that the past predicts the future. That is only assumption. Nga unsay mahitabo sa past, basically same ang mahitabo sa future. When forecasting, think carefully whether or not the past is strongly related to what you expect to see in the future so that you will not be disappointed. So let us take a look at this example. We have Mercedes E-Class versus M-Class sales for the months of January to June. So we need to forecast E-Class for July as well as M-Class sales for January to July. The question is, can we predict the new model M-Class based on the data on the table? The answer is maybe. But we need to consider how much the two markets have this in common. For example, if E-Class and M-Class are catering or serving economy people that are into economy cars, example, this Mercedes E-Class and M-Class are economy cars, then maybe they are common. Same ang ilahang market nga gina-offeran. For example, the E-Class is for luxury, is a luxury car, and M-Class is an economy car. It's a no-no kay lahi raman sila. Okay. What should we consider when looking at the past demand? Number one, trends. Unsa may nahitabo for the past nga mga months or weeks, same ra ba? Seasonality. For example, there are fruits that are in season. Mubunga ra siya og January, or every 2 months ra siya mubunga ra siya every December, or parehas sa rice nga every 3 months na iting ani nga time, na iting harvest, na ay wala sa rest lang usa. Then cyclical. Ana na siya, mubalik na sad, mo down, mubalik, musaka. Autocorrelation. There is a relationship sa random variation. There is no relationship at all. Some important questions. What is the forecast purpose? Which system will use the forecast? How important is past in estimating the future? Answer will help determine time horizons, techniques, and level of detail for the forecast. So, class, there are two types of forecasting. First type is the qualitative, and the next type is the quantitative. When you see qualitative, subjective opinions from one or more experts. You need to ask the experts. Qualitative, quantitative, you need to rely on data, numbers, and analytical techniques. Again, qualitative, experts, quantitative, data and analytical techniques. For qualitative, we have grassroots. You derive future demand by asking the person closest to the customer. So, for example, your customer or the students, you can ask the teacher. Okay? Market research, try to identify customer habits, new product ideas. So, you will have a research o sa man ang buying habits sa customer. Every week siya mo palit. Unsa man kadaghanon ng iyahang paliton kada palit niya. Okay? That's buying habits. Then, panel consensus, deriving future estimations from synergy of panel of experts in the area. Okay, you will ask the panel of experts in the area. Historical analogy, identifying another similar market. Kani siya product A, same market with product B. So, if they are similar, then we can forecast the demand of product B based on the demand of product A. Delphi technique similar to panel consensus but with concealed identity. So, panel consensus, they're experts. Delphi technique, their method, they're experts also, but dili mailan ang identity kinsa na siya nga mga expert. For quantitative class, we have first time series. Predict the future based on the past history records. Like, we predict the demand, forecast the demand for July based on the data from January to June. Causal relationship, models that use statistical techniques to establish relationship between various items and demand. So, causal relationship, tanaw na to if naa ba siya relationship or wala lang yun siya relationship at all. Then simulation, models that can incorporate some randomness and non-linear effect. How should we pick our forecasting model? 1. Are the data available? 2. Time horizon. Required ba siya og taas nga time o gamay nga time? 3. Unsa man iyang required accuracy of forecast? Then 4. Required resources. If these 4 factors check na siya, then for example, naka-available nga data, okay ang time horizon, accuracy and resources, then pwede nimo ihaom o kung say available nga forecasting technique ang nag-need ani niya. For example, required resources kay wala kay money. Dili ka pwede maka-invite o experts kay experts, mahal man ang bayad sa mga experts. Okay? Maybe you can gather past data, pero simple lang ang mga data ang imuhang mag-gather. Dili ingon ana ka accurate ng mga data. Let's move to our quantitative forecasting technique. First is time series moving average. So this moving average model uses the last T represent T periods in order to predict the demand in T plus 1. So later, we will have a closer look at this T and T plus 1. There can be 2 types of moving average class. First, it's a simple, and next is the weighted moving average. Okay? So this is the formula for the simple moving average. FT plus 1 class, because this is the future, minus 1 is the past. T plus 1 will be the forecast, is the forecast for the next period. T is the current period. So if the date is June, A plus T, this is the June data. T plus 1 is the July. T minus 1 is the May. Okay, N is the forecast horizon, let us say 3 months or 4 months. Then A is the actual sale from each period. These are the actual sales. Let's take a look. So this is the table. These are the data for the Kroger selling bottled spring water from January to June. So we will forecast what will be the sales for July. So this is what will you do. Forecast for July, you will have the actual data. Actual sales is for, since July is our forecast, this should be for June. 80 June. So let us take a look pila ang ato ang demand for June or sales for June. We have 1,195. So that is why we have put here 1,195. For May is 1,210 and for April is 1,275 divided by 3. That's for 3 months. That will be approximately 1,227 if we will be using 3-month period for average. Okay, 3-month period. So what if we will be using 5 months? So we will be using now for June, May, April, March, and Feb. Total and divided by 5, that's 1,268 forecast for July. If you can see, class, for 3 months and 5 months, mas taas ang forecast kung 5 months ang atong gamit compare sa 3 months. So, let us check ang ato ang data. Why is it 5 months atong gamiton nga simple moving average, mas taas man siya og forecast compare sa 3 months lang. If you will take a look at the data, for the last 3 months, class, from April, May ug June, gagmay ang iyahang actual sales sa bottles. Compare for the first 3 months nga January, February, and March. So, ato lang i-appeal ang February ug March lang, way labot ang January. Kung may labot ang January sa 5 months, so higher ang sales sa February and March compare sa April and May. That is why, if we will use only 3 months, lower ang iyang resulting nga forecast compare kung atong gamiton og appeal ang February ug March para ma 5 months siya kay higher man ang iyang demand diri. That is why the resulting is ang forecast for July using the 3 months period is 1,227. And using the 5 months period is 1. Let us take a look on the comparison of the forecast of 5-month forecast and 3-month forecast. As you can see in the actual data, from January it increases and from February it declined. Okay, nag-decline siya padong March, April, May, and June. For the 5-month forecast, class, you can see it smooths the data. Why? Because gikuha man niya ang average gikan February hangtod June. And February and March, higher ang iyang actual sales compare sa April, May, and June. That is why higher ang iyang forecast sa data. Compare sa 3 months, lower iyang forecasted data because these last 3 months have lower sales compared to the first 3 months of the year. The last 3 months nga data, which is June, May, and April, is more responsive and kumbaga mas duol-duol siya sa forecast diri sa 3 months. Ang 5 months, saka-saka siya tungod kay na-appeal pang ato ang forecast sa February o sa March. Then, we will move to a weighted moving average. So, we will not only get the average, but we shall also incorporate weight. So, nganong butangan man na to weight? For example, mas taas na to weight ang data nga naa sa June, May, o April, unya gamay weight ang data nga naa sa January, February, March. In other words, we give more weight on the data nga mas bag-o kaysa data nga dugay-dugay na. Kay most likely, more related ang data nga naa sa bag-o pa compare sa data nga dugay-dugay na. T, class, is for the current period. A, current period actual. FT plus 1 is the forecast. N is the horizon. And then A is the actual sales, W is the weight or the importance that you will give. So, for example, you will take a look at this. So, what do we need? Why do we need the weighted moving average? Because of the ability to give more importance to what happened recently without losing the impact of the past. So, we are giving more importance of what happened recently, but we are not discounting also the impact of what happened in the past. So, we are giving more weight of the recent data, recent happening compared to the data that happened, like kuan na, dugay-dugay na siya nga nahitabo. The blue ones are the actual, the red is the prediction using simple moving average, and the prediction using weighted moving average is the green. Kung i-compare ni mo class, mubo gihapon ang iyahang naay weight. Kaya nga naman, because for the last 3 months, taas ang atong gihatag nga weight. And then for the last 3 months, ubos ang iyahang demand. Okay? Maunang, mubo ato ang forecast sa weighted compare sa kuan lang siya, simple moving average. Okay? What will be the sales for July? So, kung 6 months ato ang buhaton nga dili siya weighted, the sales will still 1, 2, 2, 7. In other words, because we used equal weights, a slight down forward trend usually exists is not observed. Kay kuan man siya, equal weight man atong gamit. If as you can see class, na siya slight nga downward trend, no. Pero kay diri, equal weight ang atong gihatag, mo nang di nato makita ang downward trend. But if we have the weight na siya downward trend, ubos-ubos siya. So this is for your activity. What if we use the weighted moving average? So make the weights for the last 3 months more than the first 3 months. So for the weighted moving average class, it is already computed, but I want you to compute it in your own and show the solution. So for the 6 months moving average, smooth moving average, na siya dari 1, 2, 2, 7. For the weighted moving average class, first niya nga criteria is 40% and 60%. Pasabot anak class, kaning 40-60% dire, ang kani ko nung tagaan ni mong weight, ang 40% is the first 3 months, 1325, 1353, and 1305. Last 3 months is 60%. And then, for the 30-70, ang January, February, and March, 30% imong gihatag nga weight. And then, for the June, May, and April, 17, makakuha tag 1257. And for the next nga scenario is 20% January, February, March, 80% April, May, June, makakuha ta og 1247. As you can see class, there is a downward trend if magtikadako ang imong weight nga ihatag sa most recent nga data. So this should be your activity. Calculate this, show the solution that you will come up with this with this result. So this is the formula of our weighted moving average. So weighted moving average, pila ang weight ani ibutang nimo then the actual sales. For example, this is the June, no, this is not the June, this is July, this is the June, May, then April, March, February, then you will put weight to that. Okay? Butangan ninyo siya og weight. Okay. So the weight should be equal to 1. So I will give to you an example later on so that you will know how to calculate. I will send to you the example sa inyo. I will post it in our virtual classroom so that you will have a guide on how you will calculate this. Okay. So this is for the weighted moving average. How do we choose weights? Depending on the importance that we feel past data has and depending on the known seasonality. So weights of past data can also be 0, for example. kung dili siya season, pwede siya nga 0. And then, what is weighted moving average is better than simple moving average because of the ability to vary the weights. Okay, if you really want to be more accurate, it should be better to use the weighted moving average, the simple moving average, since we can vary the weights. We can assign weights on the weighted moving average. Okay, then we have the exponential smoothing. The main idea is prediction of the future depends mostly on the most recent observation and on the error of the latest forecast. Smoothing constant alpha denotes the importance of past error. So, what is the use of exponential smoothing? 1. Less storage. 2. Extremely accurate. 3. Easy to understand. 4. Little calculation. And 5. Simple accuracy tests. Assume that we are currently in period T. Current period T, we calculated the forecast for the last period, F minus 1, and we know the actual demand for the last period, T minus 1. Again, kung T gani, that is the actual period, T, current period, F minus 1, last period of forecast, then T minus 1 alpha A is the last period for actual demand. So, the smoothing constant alpha expresses how much our forecasts will react to observed differences. For example, if alpha is low, there is little reaction to differences. If alpha is high, there is a lot of reaction to differences. Okay? This is the table. Alpha is to 2. You will calculate that. Okay? I will calculate the forecast for February. So, meaning, I will calculate this, 1361. We will use the formula Ft is equal to Ft minus 1 plus alpha times the quantity of actual data T minus 1 minus Ft1. Okay, so Ft minus 1, since I will be calculating the forecast for Feb, Ft minus 1, this is for forecast for January. Forecasted for January is 1370. That is why I put here 1370. 0.2 is the alpha. Then actual T minus 1. This is also for January because this is T minus 1. Actual for January is 1325. Then Ft minus 1, same 1370. I calculated first 1325 minus 1370 multiplied by 0.2 plus 1370. The result is 1360. So as you can see, as you can see, 1361 is the result. This is February 1361. For the remaining months, I want you to show your solution for 1359, 49, 334, and 130. So the same with 0.8, same data actually, but we have different alpha. We use the same formula. The resulting is 1334. So for 0.2, the result is 1361. However, for 0.8, the result is 1334. Okay, as you can see, actual is the blue, the yellow is the 0.8, and the pink is the 0.2. So this is the difference. Okay, trend. What do you think will happen to moving average or exponential smoothing model when there is a trend in the data? So, when there is a trend, meaning there is a relationship, let's take a look kung unsa may mabuhat sa trend. Na by difference kung we will add trend to it. So, actual data as the red and forecast is the blue. Regular exponential smoothing will always lag behind the trend. Can we include trend analysis in exponential smoothing? Yes, we can include. So, this is now the formula. Fit Ft plus T, F, fit T minus 1 plus alpha AT minus 1, fit T minus 1, then T is equal to T minus 1 plus our trend, FT minus fit T minus 1. Okay, the idea, class, is that the two effects are decoupled. F is the forecast without the trend, and T is the trend component. Okay, T is the trend component. Okay, we have here for the alpha 0.8, and for the trend we are giving 0.5. So I will show the solution and how we get this table. I will give you only the February, and for the remaining months, you are the one who will calculate. For T, this is how we get it. T is T minus 1. So when we are calculating the Feb, this should be January. T minus 1 for January is, here, this is negative 10. So this should be negative 10. And the trend is 0.5. And, sorry, this alpha, trend is 0.5 rather. And the FT class, this is the current period. Wala siya minus 1, o po siya plus 1. Meaning, Feb nga, F atong tanawon. Feb nga F is 1334. This is the February nga F. So, this is 1334 minus FT minus 1. FT minus 1, this is January kay T minus 1 man. FT, this is 1370. So, let's do the math. The result is negative 28. That is why T negative 28. Okay, this negative. This is assuming, class, nga we are still on January and we want to forecast pila ang naa sa February. Okay? Assuming ni siya. But if you will forecast May, ari na ka magkuhag data. Okay? Since kay February atong i-forecast, diri ta magkuhag data. Pero kung May atong i-forecast, diri na. Sa April. Kung June ang i-forecast, diri na ta sa May magkuha og data. And then for the fifth, so same the process. And I want you to show your solution on how did we come up with Feb, March, April, May, and kindly show your solution on this. So for the FT, fit T minus 1, T minus 1 is January, alpha, AT minus 1, still actual for January, and fit for January. This is 1334. For the fit, this is the actual. You will only add F and T for February. F and T for February, class, this is F 1380, add T, for February 1334 plus 28, that's already 1306. So fit for February is 1306. So show your solution for other months. So this is now the smoothing. As you can see, naanatay closer. Ganina, class, the actual, when we use 0.2, layo-layo ra siya sa actual is the blue. When we use 0.8, layo-layo siya. But when we use 0.8 with a trend, duol-duol na siya sa ato ang actual nga sales. So, as I betters, simple moving average or weighted is the better. Exponential smoothing, better siya compare sa moving average, but it should be better if we will put it with a trend. So how can we compare across forecasting models? We need a metric that provides estimation of accuracy, meaning, class, we should calculate forecast error. Naaday tayo mga calculations of forecast error. Forecast error, class, is a difference between actual and forecasted value. This is also known as the residual. Forecast error or the residual. Errors can be biased and it could be just random. So, first, natin gitawag, class, nga MFE or the mean forecast error bias. It is the average error in the observation. MFE, class, is the summation of AT minus FT all over N. A more positive or negative MFE implies worse performance. The forecast is biased. Okay? So, then we have MAD. or the mean absolute deviation, summation, absolute value AT minus FT all over N. Higher med implies worse performance. If errors are normally distributed, then it should be 1.25 mad. So, let us take a look at the dartboard analogy. Low MFT and MAD, the forecast errors are small and biased. So, kung low atong MFT and MAD, gamay rasad ang ato ang forecast error. Okay? Gamay rasad ang ato ang bias. Low MFE but high ang MAD, still the arrow hits the bullseye, pero better pag yun ni siyang kuan. Low MFT, MFE, and low MAD. Kani low MFE, high ang ihang MAD. On average, the arrow hits the bullseye, okay gyapon siya. Pero high MFE and high MAD, the forecast are inaccurate and biased. Again, low MFE and low MAD, it should be so okay kay small ang bias, small ang errors. Low MFE ang high MAD, okay ra gihapon siya kay na-hit ang bullseye. Pero it's not okay if high ang MFE o high ang ato ang MAD because the forecasts are inaccurate and biased. Forecast must be measured for accuracy. The most common means of doing so is by measuring either the mean absolute deviation or the MAD or the standard deviation of the forecast error. Let us take a look. Another measuring accuracy. The tracking signal is a measure of how often our estimations have been above or below the actual value. It is used to decide when to re-evaluate using a model. So RSFE, summation, AT minus FT, and tracking signal is RSFE all over MAD. Positive tracking signal, most of the time, actual values are above our forecasted values. If negative nga ni atong TS, most of the time, actual values are below our forecasted value. So again, kung positive, actual value are above forecasted values. Kung negative, actual values are below the forecasted value. For example, class, dapat ang atong tracking signal in between ra na siya 4 and negative 4. Kung TS is greater than 4 and lesser than negative 4, we should investigate. Again, if TS is greater than 4 and lesser than negative 4, we should investigate. Our tracking signal should be between 4 to negative 4. Kung mubiyan gani siya in between ana, we should investigate. Okay, this is the result of the exponential smoothing. Alpha is equal to 2.2 and forecasting with trend, alpha is equal to 0.8 and trend is equal to 0.5. The question is, which is better? We will evaluate, class. The MAD for exponential smoothing is 70 and the TS is 0.6. Negative 0.60. Unsa ganito atong decision? If the tracking signal is beyond, gawas gani siya sa 4 to negative 4, we should investigate. Diri, ang ato ang TS exponential smoothing, class, kay beyond siya sa negative 4, kay negative 6 naman siya. Pero if we forecast including trend, sakto ra ang ato ang forecast kay ang TS nato, ang tracking signal nato naa siya sa negative 2. Negative 2, class, is naa siya tunga-tunga sa 4 og negative 4, di ba? Kay negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Naa siya sa tunga-tunga. When should we investigate? We should investigate if TS is greater than 4 or lower or less than negative 4. Nya kay ato ang forecast including trend kay negative 2 man, meaning we should use forecast including trend. We observe that FIT performs a lot better than ES. Conclusion, probably there is a trend in the data which exponential smoothing cannot capture. So again, maybe diri sa data nga atong gihatag naaday kuno siya trend nga man na matikdan nga wala nato nakit-an sa exponential smoothing, which is ang technique more accurate to be used is the forecast including trend, because naay trend di ay nga dapat natong tan-awon. So in a tracking signal -2 siya diri, we should use forecast including trend. For example, when we calculate the tracking signal unya ang diri kay gibutang diri kay ang nabutang diri kay -3 unya ang diri kay -6, then we conclude nga walay trend nga dapat i-capture, then we will use exponential smoothing for this data only. Lahi na pod nga conclusion kung lahi na pod nga data ato ang gamiton. Again, we should investigate kung higher than -4 or lesser than -4 ang ato ang TS. Tungod kay ang atong TS nasud sa -2 diri sa forecast including trend, then we should use forecast including trend, maybe because there is a data which exponential smoothing cannot capture kay naa di ay siya trend. Pero kung walay trend, pwede ra ni exponential smoothing as long as dili siya above 4, dili pud siya ubos sa -4. So this is the solution. Can you take a look at the solution? Math 70. This is how we get it. This is for the exponential smoothing, and you are the one to calculate for the forecast including trend. So let us take a look how would you come up with 33 and -2. Okay, why forecasting? What forecasting method should we use? Gather historical data of what you want to forecast. Divide data into initiation set and evaluation set. Use the first set to develop the models. Use the second set to evaluate. Compare MADS and MFE of each model. And then after comparing, you can see now asa ka ang mas accurate para sa imuha apan evaluation sa ato ang TS. Again, unsa ganitong evaluation sa TS, dapat atong TS dili mo dako sa 4, dili mo gamay sa -4. Tungod kay kani siya ang mas accurate, kani ang ato ang gamiton for this set of data, forecast including trend. I guess that's all for this module, class. Thank you so much for listening. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Have a great day and God bless everyone. Thank you so much.